back to the Dolphins. Last year, Justin Fields, Tua, they played each other in the regular season, and the Chargers won the game. It was a close game. The Chargers won. And everybody in the media was saying the whole time, oh, Herbert's better, Herbert's better, Herbert's better. And they said the Dolphins, because the Dolphins took Tua one pick before the Chargers took Herbert. So the last year, everyone was talking about how the Dolphins should have picked Herbert. And I said at the time, let's take a pause on this. And I think these guys are closer to each other than we think. And I think I'm being proven. I mean, I predicted 2 years ago Tua would win an MVP. I didn't predict it would happen this year. It still seems stupid to say Mahomes won't win the MVP, but currently Tua's the best quarterback in the NFL through 3 weeks. I like to take a little bit of credit on this, even though I picked the Dolphins to win 8 games this year. But last year I said Tua is just as good as Herbert. He's better than we think. I said he was going to be an MVP caliber quarterback. Other people said he would be a bust, and that Ryan Fitzpatrick should be the starter instead of him. So I'm kind of happy with myself right now. Tua's proving me right. But what do you think about this? And right now, Tua, Justin Herbert, they're the top 2 quarterbacks statistically this year in the NFL. So they both are great draft picks.
I think for me, I was definitely on the Tua sucks train, especially when he got into the NFL, purely because of how he finished at Alabama, how that disappointing season he finished in his college year,
yeah,
and also how he's been injury prone and he just didn't look like he had the stuff. Now that I'm seeing him this year, like last year, I was like first few weeks, man, this has got to be Tua's year. I switched like midway through his career so far in the NFL. I wanted him to do good because, man, he's got talent, and it reminded me of what he had at Bama. I watched some college football, and I was in love with him into Alabama, and I really wanted him to do well, but I was like, the injuries put him down. I was like, he's nothing anymore. But now he's looking good, and if he's staying off the IR, I think he's gonna have he's gonna be in that top 5 MVP candidate this year. I mean, he looked great on Sunday, and they play against the Bills this week. I think he's going to look good at then. They may win it. Who knows? But I think Tua right now is probably better talent-wise than Herbert, but Herbert's more consistent right now. Just given the years they played, Herbert's been more consistent. But I think when the year's said and done, I think people are going to start taking Tua over Herbert.
Well, the key is Tua wins more than Herbert does, but Herbert hasn't been injured, and Tua has. So, because Tua hasn't played a full season, but Tua's also never had a losing record in a season. Whereas Herbert has had 2 winning seasons, 1 losing season. This year looks like it could be his 2nd losing season. And it's not all Justin Herbert's fault. The coach sucks. The defense is pretty bad. Mm-hmm. So, the Chargers could win 7 or 8 games this year, and Herbert could be a top 5 quarterback in the league. Very similar to what former Chargers, Phillip Rivers, always had to deal with the same exact thing. So, you worry kind of that they're kind of becoming the same player almost. But I think both quarterbacks were great draft choices.
They were.
I love both of them. I think they both are going to be in the MVP discussions for a long time. Again, the question with both of them, if Tua misses even 3 games in a season, his MVP case goes way down. And if Herbert doesn't make the playoffs, his MVP case goes way down. So I think they're going to be perennially contenders for that MVP award, but it's the guys like Mahomes who end up coming out with it because they can play the whole season, great stats, and they have a winning team in the playoffs. So that's why the Mahomeses of the world are the ones who are going to get the MVPs. But Tua's right there. Right now, he's the best in the NFL. You can't argue with it through 3 weeks.
Through 3 weeks, you can't argue with it. But I want to argue this one point that you made up. Mahomes getting it. I just don't see Mahomes getting it this year.
You don't think so?
I just don't think Mahomes will get it purely because last year his weapons were great.
Yeah.
Last year his weapons through 3 weeks. You know who the top receiver was this last week for against the Bears?
That was Travis Kelce.
It's Travis Kelce with 69 yards. 69 yards. He doesn't have the weapons he had in years prior. I think this year it's going to be a lot harder for him to get it, but I think as much as I don't want him to get it because like what he has is weapons, I think that's the precise reason why people are going to pick him for the MVP is that because he doesn't have anyone, just has Travis Kelce, he's going to get the MVP.
I mean, he's still the 4th best quarterback right now.
Oh, no, he's one of the best. It's just unfortunate that he's probably going to be in that top 10 purely because of who he is, not because of what he did. And that's why I don't like the MVP. That and all the quarterbacks get it. But
I think when you look at it, like the Chiefs had a slow start to the season, has no weapons, and even still, when you look at my quarterback index, which you guys know, that's my heart and soul, man. The quarterback index right now, number 1 Tua, Justin Herbert's number 2. He has a losing record. Kirk Cousins number 3. He hasn't won a game yet, and then Mahomes is right there at number 4. So, and he's creeping back up that list. He started at 20 in week 1, then last week he was 9th, and now he's up to 4th. I think he's going to keep on going up. But I think in the end of the season, it could definitely come down to between Tua, Mahomes, and maybe a Jalen Hurts or a Josh Allen gets their names in the conversation as well.
Ooh, for me, definitely Mahomes, definitely Tua. I see it right now. If you're asking me for a third quarterback, I think that's really tough for me because I don't think Josh Allen has it because unless he gets those turnovers down, because he's got, I think, he had 2.
He played great against the Commanders.
He did, but he had an interception too.
Yeah, that's
against
true.
the Commanders, which is, the Commanders got a good defense, but still, that shouldn't happen with him. But I get it, you're going to have those games. But I think right now, for quarterbacks, I got to look at this team. I think Jared Goff is going to be someone that is going to surprise people. I think he's surprised, but I don't think top 3, maybe top 5.
Well, okay, the thing about Goff is he could be a top 10 or even a top 5 quarterback and not get a single MVP vote because he's Jared Goff.
That is also true.
Whereas Mahomes, if he's even towards the top 5, he'll get at least a couple votes. He'll be in the conversation no matter what. Same as Josh Allen. Josh Allen will be in the conversation no matter what, even if he's not the best. If for Jared Goff to win the MVP, he'd have to be, no matter what, undisputed the best. I don't think that's going to happen.
No, it's not going to happen, but I do think that he's going to have a performance this year that will put up somewhat of an MVP stats, but he's just not going to get noticed, which I think it's unfortunate for some of these guys, but you know what? What can you do?
Well, it's the same way for a guy like Deshaun Watson, who's been quietly having a pretty good season in Cleveland.
That's true.
He will never get talked about, because of the scandal. For Deshaun Watson to be talked about in any kind of MVP conversation, he would have to be by far the best quarterback in the league, and he's not. He could be a top 5 QB, and nobody will even mention his name on ESPN because they don't want to talk about after the scandal. He was obviously proven innocent, but it just leaves a bad taste in people's mouths.
Absolutely.
So